Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our first in our summer book party series. This one tonight, we're going to be talking about books that we recommend for kids and teens, roughly between the ages of 5 to 18, which is a big age range. So we will make sure to tell you what age we actually recommend each of the titles for. We will get started by introducing ourselves, and I will point people out on the screen as we go. My name is Catherine. I'm one of the Teen Services librarians. Bridget, you can go next.
I'm Bridget, and I'm a former teen librarian, and now I work with our teen librarians and our youth librarians.
And then Lauren.
Hi, I'm Lauren. I'm the summer reading coordinator, early literacy librarian, formerly a teen librarian.
Thank you. Tanya.
I'm Tanya. I'm a youth services librarian.
And Ted.
Hi, I'm Ted. I'm one of the youth librarians.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to take just a moment to share my screen, and we'll just have everyone confirm that you can see it. Can I get a thumbs up? Thank you. That's what I needed. All right. So we have just a quick update before we start.
Yeah, summer reading this year will be running from June 1st to July 31st, and our theme is Get Lost at the Library. We will be giving away free books starting June 1st while supplies last, and some titles that we're talking about today you can pick up as your free summer reading book, and we'll make sure to mention that as we are talking about them.
Excellent. So I think the next slide is a book slide. So we'll just jump into the format first. So we will be going in alphabetical order. Everyone will have about a minute to talk about their book, and then we will move on to the next one. And I'm going to be keeping time. So when you see the time slide come up, that means it's time for us to wrap it up. So Bridget will be our first book talker.
Scout's Honor is a book that I'm super excited about. It's perfect for a summer choice, and this one I would recommend for middle or high school readers who are okay with some gore. If you like kind of campy horror stories that are also funny, this is about a group of ladybird scouts, so very well known for things like Girl Scouts. They're very active in the community and volunteers, but they are not well known for their sort of secret responsibility, which is slaying monsters that threaten humanity. And our main character, Prudence, is a legacy scout. She was a scout, and her mom was a scout, and her sister's a scout. But when she was 13, her best friend, who was on the same troop as her, was killed by one of these monsters right in front of her. And that, as you might imagine, traumatic. So she kind of pulled back. She no longer is a scout. She doesn't do it anymore. But this year, this summer, there are two brand new scouts, and Prudence is now 16. And there are two brand new scouts who are just about to start, and they need to be brought up to speed to join a troop. And she gets kind of voluntold into this. And so this is her summer of training some new scouts. And this book is so much fun and funny. There's romance and mystery and monster gore and awesome weapons that expand. There's these double-bladed axes, for example, that are spring-loaded that you can conceal and then suddenly bring them out and kill monsters with. Very fun, very campy, kind of gross.
All right. Punching the Air is one of our summer reading giveaway books. So this is one that you can pick up in one of our libraries starting tomorrow. And it is one that I would recommend probably for 8th grade and up. If you are a fan of books like Dear Martin or The Hate You Give, this is an excellent choice. It is co-authored by E.B. Savoy and Yusuf Salam, who is one of the exonerated 5. And it is a novel written in verse. It is lyrical and beautiful and also heartbreaking at times. It is about a young man named Amal who dreams of becoming an artist and poet, and instead his life takes a turn when he is convicted of a crime that he did not commit and is sent to juvenile detention facility. And this is his story of healing and the healing that he finds through art.
Miss Meteor is for 7th grade and up, and it also is part of the summer reading book selection for teens for ages 12 and up that you can start picking up tomorrow at one of our branches. And it is a sweet and powerful story about Lita and Chiki. They live in Meteor, New Mexico, and Lita wants to try out to be Miss Meteor beauty pageant winner. It's her dream. She wants to show everyone that she has what it takes to win and change up kind of what the image is around beauty pageants. Her confidence and personality are outstanding. Her best friend Cheeky, though, they have a falling out, and this might just be what they need to bring their friendship back together. There are a bit of bullying kind of scenes in this book, just so you know, as they have this tough conversation about what this looks like for this plan. They do start to navigate the plan and figure out how to become the winning person of the pageant. And she does have a secret, though. Lita does, and it is about to come out before she is ready for it. So find out what her secret is and see what she will do to make sure that she kind of stays where she is. It's an amazing story about friendship and pushing yourself to do new things and not giving up. It's just delightful.
This is Amari and the Night Brothers. This is also a summer reading book that you can pick up, and it is by far my favorite book. This book can be described as Artemis Fowl meets Men in Black meets Harry Potter, and it's about a girl named Amari. Amari has been kind of obsessed with her brother's disappearance, which happened a few months ago. No one knows what happened to him. No one is looking for him except for Amari. And one day she finds this briefcase, and inside the briefcase are these goggles. They're virtual reality goggles in a sense, and she gets a message from her brother in there. It turns out that her brother Quentin used to work for the Bureau of Supernatural Affairs. Their job is to kind of keep our world separate from the world of fairies and dragons and wizards and more. And first, Amari has to wrap her head around that, but she realizes that she is getting an invitation to join this bureau as well. Amari thinks that this bureau might hold the key to her missing brother, and so she decides to join. As she's joining this bureau, she has to try to get through 3 trials, and she realizes that she has magical powers greater than have been seen in years and years. So Amari is figuring out herself and trying to find her missing brother as well. This is fast-paced, very fantastical. I love it. Pick it up.
All right, so this is another one of our summer reading giveaway books. Fair warning though, if you do not like horror and if you don't like unsettling stories, this is definitely not the book for you. But if you love those things, definitely this one. It is a collection of short stories that have these two interweaving arching stories about these 2 fox kids named Mia and Yuli, who are born in the wilderness and have to try to survive against some pretty frightening odds. Mia, one day when she is going to learn from their kind of school teacher, Miss Kit, who teaches them how to hunt and how to survive in the wilderness, she and her brothers and sisters notice that Miss Vix is acting extraordinarily strange. She has foam coming out of her mouth, she's shaking, and then she manages right before she starts attacking them to say, "Run." Turns out that she actually has rabies. So Mia is one of the only kids who manages to get away from her. She's wandering around in the woods and lost. Uli, on the other hand, is abandoned by his family to survive in the wilderness, and that is when they have to kind of try to come together to both survive and also try to build a life for themselves in a terrifying world that essentially has a new horror waiting around every corner. So again, if you love horror, if you love action and adventure, this would definitely be a great one. Definitely for grades 4 and up, though. It's very unsettling.
Himawari House is a graphic novel, and I think it probably would work best for high school aged readers. Not so much for content, but for the substance of the story. And the art is really fantastic in this. If you like slice of life type stories, if you like books that really give you a sense of place, this would be a good choice. It's set in Japan, and it follows a group of late 20s or early 20s, late teens folks who are kind of figuring out what happens after school. And so if you're in that place of kind of like, what do I do with my life? What comes next? This might be a good choice for you. And one of the main characters is actually visiting, was born in Japan, grew up in the United States, moved here when she was just a kid, and is visiting Japan and heads to Japan for a year after high school to kind of figure stuff out. And she stays at Himawari House, where there are other students, and not just students, but people who are just trying to figure out what are they up to. And this is the story of them kind of becoming friends, figuring out language barriers, because there are from all over the place. So there's someone from Hong Kong and someone from Korea. There's some folks from Japan and our main character from the United States. And what is it like to kind of live together and work together when you all speak pieces of different languages, and some of them overlap and sometimes they don't. It's really a good story with wonderful art. So look for that for a fun summer read.
All right, Alone Out Here just came out in April by Riley Redgate. And this one is for all of those sci-fi fans out there, and more specifically cli-fi or climate change science fiction. It is set in the year 2072, and the premise of this story is that the supervolcanoes have started erupting. Fun fact, Colorado is on the Yellowstone supervolcano, and as soon as it erupts, we're all done anyway, so we don't have to worry about the apocalypse. But in this story, the scientists have been watching this happen and have been working on a way to continue humanity. And so they have a spaceship called Lazarus that is set to take people off planet. And the president's daughter, Lee Chan, and a group of other teenagers happen to be touring the Lazarus spaceship when the last supervolcano erupts and it triggers the launch of the spaceship. The only adult who is on this ship dies in the launch. They're the pilot of the ship. And so now 100 teenagers are left alone on a spaceship traveling to an unknown planet without enough food. This one is very much Lord of the Flies set in space, or if you like the TV show 100, it's like the reverse of 100. Highly recommend. Probably for 7th grade and up, it is fairly violent.
Wildfire, I would say, is for 5th to 8th grade, and it is also part of our summer reading book selection for tweens for ages 9 and up. And a fire breaks out in the woods surrounding a lake. Also surrounding the lake, though, are a variety of summer camps, and they're in full swing with campers. While everyone is evacuating, Sam realizes he forgot his phone and goes back. Never do that. He gets caught up fighting to survive. Along the way, he meets another camper from one of the other camps, and they team up to find a way to hopefully get through the fire. Along the way, they see other people doing really bad things, so they're on the run from them. They decide to take a car that they find to try to figure out if they can get out faster, if they drive away. So find out what happens as Sam and his new friend are trying to fight to survive to get out. This book is really hard to put down. You really want to try to figure out what's going on. And in the back of it, it has survival tips as well. So it has kind of this realistic feel to it, as wildfires are very real. We're seeing a lot of them in Colorado. And so it's a really nice kind of survival tip list in the back as well, which is a nice touch to it.
All right, this is Cameron Battle and the Hidden Kingdoms. This is for those kids that like Percy Jackson or mythology, the Rick Riordan Presents series, and I would say it's for kids 4th grade and up. It's about a boy named Cameron Battle, and he grew up reading this book called The Book of Chidani. It was kind of like this story about a magical kingdom, very fairy tale-like, and it has been passed down through the generations of his family. His parents disappeared a few years ago. They left the house one night. They were very mysterious about it and never came back. And ever since then, his grandma has not let him read the Book of Chidani. His friends Zion and Elia are over one night and they decide to go find the Book of Chidani. It's locked up in the attic, and when they do find it, it kind of seems like it's glowing. When they open it up, they are transported into the book to this magical kingdom of Chidani. Cameron finds out that this kingdom is in trouble, and Cameron is the last descendant, which means he is the only one who can help save the kingdom. He also realizes that this kingdom might hold the secrets to where his missing parents are, and he's determined to figure it out. This book is fast-paced, very fantastical, and it will definitely be a series.
All right, so this is Measuring Up. This is one of the best books that was published last year. This is also one of our summer reading novels, so if you love graphic novels, if you like Rihanna Telgemeier or realistic slice of fiction graphic literature, this would definitely be a great one to pick up for grades 3 and up. It's about a girl named Cece who lives in Taiwan with her family, and she absolutely loves her grandmother and learning how to cook from her grandmother, and she is an incredible chef. Now, she is really, she loves her life, and she is really kind of devastated when she finds out that her parents are moving to Seattle and taking her with them. Now, she manages to settle in a little bit at school. She makes some friends. Unfortunately, though, she really misses her grandmother who wasn't able to come. Now, that is when Cece fortunately finds out that they are having a local kids cooking competition, and the money that she could potentially win from that for coming in first place would be enough for her to bring her grandmother over to Seattle to celebrate her grandmother's 70th birthday together, because they never missed a birthday, and this is kind of a huge deal. Cece thinks that this is the perfect opportunity. Unfortunately, though, when she gets to the show, she finds out that Cooking World is a little more competitive than she had anticipated, and she also finds out that the cooking judges are kind of not on board with her cooking. So if you love realistic graphic novels, definitely that one.
So All Systems Red is one of the choices for our summer reading books, if you want to choose that. And it was also a book that was written for adults. So I like to give that as a heads up. It's probably good for readers who are okay with a fair amount of violence, some swearing, possibly upper middle school into high school. And if you like really snarky main characters, stuff that's both funny and weird, this would be a good choice for you. Our main character is Murderbot. These are called the Murderbot Diaries. There's a whole series if you like them. And Murderbot is a part human, part artificial intelligence construct whose job is security. But they have managed to break their governor module that forces them to do what the company wants them to do. And instead of going on a rampage, they've named themselves Murderbot. But instead of murdering, they just really like binge watching TV shows. That is their favorite thing in the world. They're really snarky, very funny, but they are continuing to pretend to do their job so they can watch TV shows in their free time. But this job, they're guardians and scientists on this planet, and things start going wrong, catastrophically wrong. And it's clear there's something happening. So Murderbot is torn between protecting their humans and also just kind of wanting to watch their shows. It's really funny. It's got some mystery, kind of locked room murder mystery feel to it. And it's a good one if you want to get into a brand new series.
From the Desk of Zoe Washington by Janae Marks is another one of our summer reading giveaway books. This one I would say would probably work for 4th or 5th grade and up. And it is one of my all-time favorite books. Zoe is such a great character. I love the story so much. I wish that there would be more and this would become a series, but I think for now it's just a standalone, so we don't have more of Zoe yet. Zoe has just turned 12. She's celebrating her birthday. She dreams of participating in the Kids Baking Challenge and has been working on perfecting the most delicious cereal milk cupcake recipe. Just fun fact. I have a lot of fun facts. Oh, or interesting tidbit, perhaps. The recipe that she perfects in the story is at the end of the book. So if you want to make the cupcakes, you can, and they sound delicious. But her life is turned upside down when she gets a mysterious letter from a man claiming to be her birth dad. She has never met him before. She doesn't really know anything about him. And she finds out that part of the reason is her mom has kept him a secret is because he is in prison and has been accused of committing a murder. And he writes her a letter on her 12th birthday that she finds, claiming that he is innocent. And that starts the correspondence back and forth between them. And she's finally getting to know her birth father for the first time and has determined that she wants to help him get justice and to be set free. So this is a story that's full of heart. It is so much fun. If you like more realistic slice of life stories or stories that will make you hungry, I highly recommend it.
The Midnight Girls is for 9th grade and up, and it's set in magical 18th century Poland, which I found was a really excellent setting for this story. And these 3 elderly witches, and they all have monsters that serve them. And they're not monsters like we think of them. The 2 on the cover are 2 of those monsters. We have Beata, who is the morning kind of monster, and Zosha, who is the midnight monster. And there's a 3rd one to go with the 3rd witch named America. She works but kind of midday. And they did this very deliberately, splitting them up because they all are after pure hearts. They are very good at taking these hearts out of their victims. So definitely a lot of graphic conversation when they do that in this book. So that's a content warning. And they deliver them back to the witches. It helps their powers. It keeps them kind of young and kind of, powerful. So this is their job, and they've never met each other in person. There's a reason for that. You kind of learn it throughout the book. That's why they have morning, midday, and midnight. But Bjarta and Zosha finally meet each other in person, and it's at this ball. It's kind of like a mask ball. No one knows who each other are, but they can tell right away who they are. They have the sense of who they are. And Bjarta has always been kind of in awe of Zosha the midnight. And so find out what happens as they meet each other. It kind of changes their dynamic because Bjarta has a secret she's been keeping. And it's a very interesting twist of the story. So find out what happens. It is quite fantastic and has lots of twists. That's Midnight Girls.
This is Wing Bearer, and I would say that this is for 3rd grade and up. It is a graphic novel, and for fans of Amulet and Wings of Fire. I've been so excited for this one to come out, and it was just as good as I wanted it to be. It's about a girl named Zuli, and Zuli was born in what they called the Great Tree, this giant tree, and she was raised by all kinds of birds. She has never left the tree. She doesn't know a life anything other than that or where she came from. And the Great Tree has magic. When birds die, their souls go to this tree, and the tree helps them be reborn into a new bird. But one day, the magic kind of stops happening. Bird souls stop coming to the tree. There are no new leaves. Something is going on. And Zuli offers to kind of go out into the world and figure out what is happening with the magic. She takes one of the owls, it's her guardian owl. His name is Frowley, and they go out into the world. The world is not what Zuli has imagined. She finds out that it's a kind of a dangerous place and that things are not going well in the world. She finds this dragon. She finds out there's a witch queen. And the most surprising thing is that it sounds like Zuli is pretty important. She comes from this group of people that has kind of disappeared over the last few years. And so Zuli starts looking into her identity as well. This book does leave you a little bit on a cliffhanger, so it will be a series, which I'm excited about. And that is Wing Bear.
All right, so this is Shauns Tea Party, and this is already one of the best of the year. If you love graphic novels, I would highly recommend this one for grades 5 and up. It is about a girl named Laura, and Laura is in 7th grade, and she is watching all of her friends. Essentially, it feels like her change overnight. Everyone is getting really into style. Everyone's getting really into memes and gaming. Her friends are starting to develop crushes, and Laura is just feels like she's being left behind. She doesn't really want to do any of that. She still loves playing, she still loves imagination games. She still loves playing with her old dolls. And one day when she's up in her attic, she decides on a whim that she's going to hold a seance just between herself and her stuffed animals. And she accidentally summons a ghost that is actually living in her attic. Now, this ghost named Laura decides on a whim to become this ghost named Alexa becomes her best friend. And that's when Alexa starts noticing, like, maybe you shouldn't be spending all of your time with me since I'm dead. You should I know it's kind of scary, but it's nice to go out and make new friends and meet new people. She pushes Laura into trying to be to get a little bit out of her comfort zone. And at the same time, Laura starts finding out more about Alexa's past, which is, of course, since she is dead, kind of sad. So kind of a bittersweet graphic novel, but if you love things like ghosts, or if you're looking for something that's kind of happy, also kind of sad, definitely that'd be a great one to pick up.
Witchlands is super fun if you like magic school books. If you like, Tanya recently talked about the Amari book. If you like that one, you'd probably be into this one. If you like Nevermoor, it's so much fun, and it's definitely going to be the first in a series. And I also just want to put a plug in. If you go to the author's website, you can take a sorting quiz and get your coven sorted. It's very fun. So it's about our three main characters on the cover live in this magical town, this magical world. And when you come of age as a witchling, you get sorted into a coven. But on the night of the sorting, the worst happens, and our three main characters don't get sorted into any coven. They are what are called spares. They don't get to be part of as big of a coven and have as much magic. It's a bummer all around. And so they embark or volunteer for something called an impossible task. And if they can complete this task, they'll be able to kind of bond as a coven themselves, and they'll have more magic. If they don't complete the task, they get turned into toads. So lots at stake here, and they only have a couple weeks, and the task is to conquer or capture a night beast, this horrific monster. What I love so much about this book is the magic is super fun. The characters are really entertaining. There's lots of sort of hijinks, if you want to think of it that way, and a mystery as well. So much fun. And I'd say it's probably good for middle school. I'd say even elementary school up through middle school. And honestly, if you're in high school and like magic stories, I would try it anyway. I'm an adult and I loved it.
I would definitely say you could do 4th grade and up on that one. I loved that one as well.
Excellent. Continuing our magical theme and good read likes for Nevermoor or Harry Potter if you still like Harry Potter and are looking for an alternative. The Lock Eater by Zach Lauren Clark is so much fun. Zach Lauren Clark is also the author of the Adventurers Guild series, if you're familiar with that one, and this is his new series. I super loved it. It features Melanie and her very cantankerous cat, which you can see on the cover here. He's super grumpy and shows up at the worst times throughout the story. Melanie has grown up in an orphanage, and her nickname is the Lock Eater because she has a secret ability, and that's not so secret actually if she has a nickname, but she has this ability that she can break any lock that she touches or break down any barrier, and it seems to be magical, but she doesn't know anything about her past until this robot shows up at the orphanage claiming that he is there to recruit her to become an apprentice to one of the local witches. She is going to go for training. Very shortly after leaving, she discovers that he is actually lying. He is the first robot who has ever acquired a soul, and he thinks that Melanie might have the key to figuring out why suddenly he has feelings and thoughts of his own and other things, but they're being hunted by an evil wizard. This one is so much fun. Lots of different magical creatures. There's an entire kingdom of frog people that they go and visit. That was really my favorite. Highly recommend it.
The School Between Winter and Fairyland is for 5th grade and up, and Autumn is our main character, and she takes care of creatures similar to other books that have creatures as well. There's always someone that takes care of them. And Inglenook School of Magic is where she works, and she loves her creatures. She cares for them. She knows all their secrets, and that's really important because at this school, there are different wizards that are learning how to fight them, not by fighting them, but they learn kind of how they work so they can fight them in the wild. And so it's a really interesting look. But Autumn has a twin brother named Winter that went missing about a year ago, and she keeps looking for him. She is very connected to him, still feels that he's alive, and occasionally sees glimpses of him in the windows of the school. And so she keeps every night going around trying to find him, whispering his name, when she runs into Kai. And Kai is the top of his class. He seems to be the chosen one. He can do no wrong, essentially. And it's perfect that they run into each other because Kai wants it to be kept a secret that he was seen out of his bedchambers after hours. And so they kind of exchange favors. Kai knows a lot about the school, the nooks and crannies. And so Autumn is asked to help find Winter. And he is open to that because in return, he needs help learning about a specific beast that he has been struggling to be able to take down. So find out what his secret is and what is keeping him from taking down this huge beast, and kind of what their relationship kind of twists into as they keep looking for Winter and figuring out what's going on in this school. That is The School Between Winter and Fairyland.
This is Omar Rising, and we're taking a turn. This is realistic fiction. I would say that this book could be for 4th grade and up, maybe leaning a little bit towards 5th grade. It's about a boy named Omar, and Omar lives in a smaller, poor town, and he is really excited because he just got a scholarship to this prestigious private school a few hours away from his home. Omar knows that education is really important and that it's one thing that he can do to help his family, and so he is really looking forward to this school. The school also has so many more opportunities than his current school, but when he gets there, Omar is disappointed quickly. For example, he is a scholarship kid, and so he finds out that scholarship kids are not allowed to join clubs their first year. In fact, the scholarship kids have to kind of be servants for the other kids. They have to do chores. Also, Omar has to work a lot harder in his classes. He never has any free time. He's always studying, and he starts to be bullied. Omar realizes that this isn't fair and the school isn't treating him or the other scholarship kids like they said they would. And so he decides to do something about it. He gets a bunch of his friends and a lot of the school on board and starts to stand up to this school and figure out how he can change the rules and make it equal for everyone. I really love this book. It's very touching. It will make you smile at the end. So if you like realistic fiction, check out Omar Rising.
Okay, this is an incredible cover, but it's also an incredible book. This is the cyberpunk dragon sci-fi adventure that I never knew I needed until I read this. So if you are looking for an adventure for grades 4 and up, this is definitely the one to pick. It's about a kid named Abel, and he lives in a future where everything in the world is powered by dragons. They use dragons for heat, for energy, essentially to power their technology, everything. And in particular, there are secret underground gangs called kins. They use dragons essentially as an underground, like, dragon fighting. They bet on them, and it's an extraordinarily dangerous sport if you get into it. Now, Abel thinks that he's just going to have a normal life, when one night he looks out his window and he notices right before the dragons are doing their yearly burn of the city, where they essentially destroy everything that's left outside, he notices his older sister running around on the rooftop. She raps on his window and says, essentially, "Let me in, they're about to start the burning." When she gets in, she hands him a piece of paper, says, "I know this all seems weird. I know I just work at a comic book store, but don't read this. Trust me, this is very important. Don't let anyone have it." The Kins actually come later that night. They kidnap his older sister, and Abel is thrown headlong into the world of underground dragon fighting in order to A, save his sister, and B, try to build a better life for his family. Because essentially in this world, nobody does well except for the extraordinarily wealthy and anyone who can cut it in the dragon fighting circle. So if you're looking for an action or adventure book, definitely that one.
So Burn Down, Rise Up is a really good choice if you like horror stories. This is one that I would probably recommend for maybe 8th grade and up, or anybody who's comfortable reading stuff like Stephen King. There's a lot of body horror in this series book, and it's really good. It's also a thriller, so if you like the type of story you pick it up and can't put it down. I read this book in one sitting because I desperately wanted to know what happened. And it's set in the Bronx in New York, and the opening chapter opens with someone who is running through the city, and something has gone terribly wrong. They were playing a game, they broke some kind of rule, and everything seems to be on fire and falling apart around them. And then we jump to our main character here on the cover, Raquel, and her mom is a nurse, and she gets a notification from the hospital that her mom's in a coma. She had an interaction with a patient, they don't know what's wrong, but she's unconscious. And at the same time, one of Raquel's childhood friends, Charlize, her cousin has gone missing. His name is Cisco, and he's missing, and it seems like this is connected to Raquel's mom being unconscious. And right before he went missing, he seemed to have been playing a game, and it's a game with some pretty specific rules, and if any of the rules are broken, terrible things seem to happen to the people who break the rules. Perhaps supernatural things are happening, and Charlize and Raquel kind of team up to try and figure out if they can save Raquel's mom, figure out where Cisco is, perhaps by playing this game. It is super tense. Content warnings for all sorts of things in that one, so maybe look it up before you read it.
Year of the Reaper by Makia Lucier is one that I definitely picked up because of the cover. It has such a striking and cool cover, and I would definitely recommend it for anyone in grades 7 and up who are fans of Ranger's Apprentice, or if you're looking for a good high fantasy story with no romance, which is harder to find these days. So this is the story of Lord Cassia, who is on the cover, or Cass, and he is the Lord and supposed to inherit and rule over this particular bit of land ruled over by the king of the kingdom, as they go, and he is returning home at the start of the story after a long time away, such a long time away, in fact, that everyone back at home believes he is dead. He discovers when he gets home that the king has moved in and taken over, basically assumed his inheritance, and has been living there. And Cass is, as he is entering the gates, no one recognizes him, and he foils an assassination attempt of the king's only child. And so he's brought back into the spotlight, and they are trying to uncover the mystery of where he has been, which unfolds throughout the story. There's also a mysterious plague that has been sweeping through the kingdom and wiping people out. This is definitely the start of a series, a great adventure fantasy story.
Josephine Against the Sea is for 5th grade and up, and it is full of Caribbean mythology and lots of humor. I really enjoyed this one. Josephine is a really awesome character. Her and her father live in Barbados, and it has been about a year since Josephine's mother has passed away, and her father feels ready to date again, but Josephine does not like that. She likes having her father kind of all to herself. He's a fisherman, and he always makes time for her and comes back with amazing fish to eat and all these things. So she decides to start pranking every single woman that comes by. It's not too many, but it's enough that she has pranks up her sleeve that she pulls, like putting fish guts in cups and different things, because you have to get used to fish smell with a fisherman, and it works very well at first until Maris comes around. She's very different. She is unlike any other woman in town, and everyone's really attracted to her. Attention is drawn to her. She's very smart. She seems to know a lot of things, and she could pretty much do no wrong, except for she's stepping on Josephine's toes by taking over her father's time. So Josephine tries to get on the cricket team, do all these things to pull attention towards her, for her father to pay attention. But the more she does these things, she notices that there's something really different about Maris. There's this shell necklace she always wears. There's this certain stuff she always eats. So find out as she researches what Maris might be, who she might be. It's a very interesting twist of the book, and I super enjoyed it. That's Josephine Against the Sea.
That one had like a fun, creepy factor, I would say. This one is 6 Crimson Cranes, and this is good for probably 6th grade and up. This is high fantasy, kind of with fairy tale elements, and it's about a girl named Shiori. Shiori is a princess in the land of Kyoto, and she has a secret. She has some sort of magic running through her veins. She hasn't quite figured out what it is yet, but she has made a paper crane, and she's kind of made it come alive. Her stepmother has figured out her secret, but Shiori is not the only one hiding a secret. It turns out that her stepmother is magical as well, but her stepmom seems to have evil magical powers, and through a series of events, her stepmom places a curse on Shiori and her brothers. She turns Shiori's brothers into cranes and banishes them from the kingdom. And Shiori, she also banishes from the kingdom. But she puts this, what's described as a bowl on her head so that nobody can recognize her, and tells her that if she tries to tell anyone who she is, for every word that she says, one of her brothers will die. Shiori is sent far away from the kingdom when she finds out that there is some sort of conspiracy against the throne, against her father. And so as she's trying to figure out what to do, she can't speak, she's trying to find her brothers, and she's trying to figure out how to break this unbreakable curse. There is so much that happens in this book that's only a small piece of it. I had been waiting to read this book for a long time, and I should have bumped it up on my to-read list, and so should you. So that is 6 Crimson Cranes.
All right, and last but not least, if you were looking for another great manga series for grades 8 and up, I would say this would definitely be a great one to pick up. Or if you're really interested in art or illustration or graphic design, it is about a kid named Yutora, and Yutora is in high school, and he is an almost perfect high school student. He has tons of friends, he's very popular, he always gets good grades, even though he doesn't really try, and he kind of feels like he's just drifting along. And especially at this time in his life, everyone, it feels like to him, is kind of breathing down his neck to go ahead and okay, look, high school is coming to an end. You need to go ahead and pick a career. You need to go ahead and start thinking about the future. Find out what you're going to do. Find out what you want to do that's really sensible. And that is when his world is turned completely upside down, when a girl that he knows from his class goes sprinting by him one day with a painting. Now, as he's looking at the painting, he just becomes completely obsessed with it. He's never seen anything like this, even though he's interacted with art before. There's just something about it that speaks to him just on this really deep level. He becomes almost immediately obsessed with art, with the art club, and also he starts thinking maybe he should be an artist. And even though everyone in the world is sort of trying to push him away from that, as he's drawn closer and closer into art world, he finds out that it's actually a lot tougher than he had imagined, and he only has a couple of years left to perfect his art enough to get into one of Tokyo's only public art universities. This is also a Netflix anime, but I would highly recommend you read this first. It is an incredible series, definitely a good one to pick up.
All right, those are all of the books we have to share with you. Thank you so much to all of our book talkers for sharing some of your favorites. Thank you for spending this evening with us, and we hope to see you in the library this summer. Come say hi if you see us. Have a good night.